Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric DeLalla.
Phil, I'm glad you got the gray memo today.
I did. Yeah, Ben Swanson sent that out this morning, and I was happy to oblige.
Yeah, I had to go through kind of the gray section of my quarter zip closet. So which one should I go with? Went with Ralph Lauren, of course.
Oh, not a sponsor.
No.
Could be. I think this is a Banana Republic.
That's nice, too. Also not a sponsor.
Both sold at King Supers.
I don't think that's true.
Eric, we're back in our podcast studio.
We are.
The fan response.
What do these things do?
Yeah, these are different microphones.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, those are out of the shot, so you can't tell.
Oh.
Yeah, that's nice. I was going to say the fan response, they said that the audio quality was so much better in here that we had to come back.
Where else would you want to record a podcast than the podcast studio?
It is nice. We got lights in here.
Got lights, microphones, chairs.
Padded walls, so yeah, that sounds
That's
good.
probably out of the shot too, huh?
No, that's in the shot. Nice job. I'll explain how the cameras work and everything some other
Is that? I'm looking there.
Yeah, that's the one you want to look at. Yeah, that's a good one. Eric, just one more game to go this year.
Phew.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can I say that?
I think you could say that. Yeah, I think so. Not the ending of the season I think that anybody was hoping for. The Broncos were in playoff contention, and then now they're not. 3 losses in a row here.
It's a pretty good description.
And, when it was really on the line and it mattered the most, the Broncos just too much to overcome. Teddy got hurt. Things started sort of unraveling a little bit.
Yeah, do you think, because I was thinking about this the other day, today even, do you think if Teddy Bridgewater had stayed healthy, are the Broncos still alive going into this week?
Well, that Cincinnati game was not going well even when he was playing it.
No, it wasn't.
But
he did get that first down. They're starting to drive the football a little bit.
Yeah, like maybe it's a little bit closer, but who really – hard to tell about that one.
I guess really the question becomes, do you beat the Raiders with Teddy Bridgewater?
I think maybe you would have split one of those last two.
Got it.
Although Drew did not do anything to lose those games.
No.
I should be clear about that.
But there is a difference, and we'll talk about it when we talk about Drew, is that there's a difference between like good quarterback play and an effective, efficient offense. And the Broncos have gotten decent quarterback play from Drew, but the offense has not been
The run
effective.
game has gone bye-bye.
It really has.
The run game, not there. With Teddy was in there, the running game was really moving the ball.
It said hello.
It said hello. But when Drew was in there, it said bye.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Beatles song almost,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine.
Not Yellow Submarine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. Maybe they would have split, I'd say that. But we've got a lot to talk about on this episode. You may think, hey, the Broncos aren't in it. This last game doesn't matter. This show doesn't matter. But you'd be wrong. There's a lot to talk about, Eric.
Would they be wrong?
Yeah, because, in Broncos country, it's always exciting. There's always something going on.
That's true.
I think that's a fair way to say it. There's always something happening. And I think maybe we could talk about Drew Lock's comments to the media on Wednesday this week. Drew getting set to make his 3rd start of the season. Talked a little bit about his future, Eric.
He did.
And I thought maybe we could dive into exactly what he was saying there.
He had some interesting things to say. A lot of maybe conflicting answers.
Yeah, like there were times where he was like, okay, here's what I'm supposed to say. He tried to say that, but then maybe later on he said something that was like more of how he really felt. And then it kind of contradicted itself.
Yeah.
So we can get into that a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about this Chiefs game because, Eric, even though it doesn't really matter for the Broncos this season, it's still the Chiefs.
Yeah. And I do think there's an aspect of it that still matters.
Okay, maybe we can get into it.
Yeah.
That's a nice tease.
Don't want to give it away.
What aspect are you talking
about?
Oh,
my goodness.
Yeah. I do think, though, it's the Chiefs, so there's always
there's
matter.
something there.
There's a little something
Yeah.
there. Yeah. We got a couple of voicemails.
Ooh.
Tom
Magnetti?
Tom Magnetti. He's back, baby.
He's from Delaware.
Yeah. And we're keeping him informed.
Yeah.
We also have a little Twitter poll you did.
Ooh.
Yeah, spicy.
It is spicy.
Do you want to tell them what the question was?
Yeah, if you are listening now, you can go back and look at the exact results from when they finished. But the question was, who do you want to be your ideal starter in 2022 at the quarterback position? The options are Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, a new veteran quarterback, or a rookie quarterback.
Ooh, okay.
And to me, the most interesting thing is that there's a little bit of a tie between two of those.
Well, veteran quarterback.
Yeah.
How do you acquire such a
You
player?
could acquire them in 3 ways, I think, right?
Really?
Maybe just 2.
I was going to say, I'm interested now. Yeah.
You could trade for one.
Uh-huh.
That's an interesting proposition.
That is, you could trade.
Or you could sign one in free agency.
Yep.
That's less interesting. But still
Well,
interesting.
You can still do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our friend Steve Atwater.
Steve Atwater. You know, when you work here at the facility and you're just and you're just like working in the studio,
You never
people
know.
like Steve Atwater just walk by.
You never know who is going to be in this building.
Hall of Famers everywhere.
Yeah. Peyton Manning walked by right before
Yeah.
we were on air.
He was like, "Can I come on for just a segment?"
We're like, Peyton,
And I
no.
was like, "No, this is not Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
We don't do it like guests come on
Yeah,
like that,
exactly.
you know? And he was like, "Please, I got something I really want to talk about."
We were like,
And,
Goodell is coming on in just a second. We don't have any room.
yeah, exactly. Goodell kind of roasted him a little about the makeup.
I missed that part.
Yeah, he said, "How come Eli doesn't get makeup, but you do?" It's pretty funny. Then Snoop Dogg became part of the Manning family.
I saw that.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg also wants to be on the neutral zone. He's a part of NZ Nation.
He'll be here at some point, I think.
At
We're
some
working.
point, yeah.
We're working. Ben Swanson's talking to his people.
He's working the phones.
We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll talk about that poll you did there.
Yeah.
Who would be the ideal quarterback for the Broncos next season? And then we'll wrap up the show.
Perfect.
How does that sound?
Last one of the regular season.
Yeah. It's flown by. Eric.
It really, really has.
If you want to find Eric's poll question, it's at Eric Dalala with an A on Twitter.
Yep.
You can also look for at Phil Milani with a PH.
That's kind of a non-traditional spelling.
Both are.
Both. Yeah.
Both are
They both
non-traditional
are.
spellings. Yeah. Because I think Philip, most people would spell that with an F.
F-I-L-L.
Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's how you
U-P.
do it. If you want to be like Tom Magnetti, you could leave a voicemail.
That's right.
Or this week, we also have a Wyatt. Wyatt left a voicemail.
Thanks,
So
Wyatt.
we'll play those. If you want to be like them and have your voicemail played right here on the air, how would you do that, Eric?
707 neutral. You
Yeah.
call that on your mobile device, or I
Yeah.
guess a landline could work too.
That is true.
You have several landlines still. I don't have one,
Just
but
in case.
yeah, you're like got to have different phone lines open in case your sources call you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So you'd call that. You don't have to talk to anybody. Ben
That's a nice thing.
Ben Swanson isn't just sitting there at the phone board. It's like an automated voice. I think
You
there's a
don't
little
have
beep.
to talk to anybody, which is the beauty of it.
Yeah.
You just leave your voicemail.
Right.
But maybe some people don't even want to do that.
They don't even want to do that.
They
could-
want to leave an email.
They want to leave an email, and the place you do that, Phil, is one of my favorites. neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
That is what I hear.
It's so nice.
That's a great
Sometimes
place.
I'll send emails to myself and to
Yeah.
you from there.
Reminder. Like
I make a-
reminder, talk
yeah.
about this on the show.
Yeah. I use my alias, John Jornad.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding.
That is how maybe
John, thanks for listening.
that is true. He's your number one fan.
Yeah. I thought you were my number one fan.
Well, you're my everything.
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
he's your
Different,
number one
different.
fan.
Okay.
That's different. Yeah. You could also leave a comment right on the YouTube page.
That's right.
You can say whatever you'd like to say on the YouTube page, but usually the comments are all about quarter zips and haircuts.
You could be nice.
Yeah. The negative comments, Eric.
They fuel us.
Yeah.
You know?
Everybody enjoys the positive ones, but it's the negative ones that stick with you.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the losses.
Exactly. You're like, I don't remember
No
the good
wins.
comments, just the
Yeah,
bad ones.
Exactly. Yeah. Fuels me when I blow dry my hair.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, exactly. Eric, let's get into some real football talk here. Let's talk about Drew Lock, the future of this football team with or without Drew Lock, and mostly his comments here on Wednesday. He was asked do you want to be the quarterback here next season?
Roll it.
That was nice, Eric. Yeah, that's not really how this works. But he was asked about that. What did you think about his answer? How did he?
He didn't say yes.
I thought that he was going to say yes.
Of course, I want to be here.
Yeah,
He got close to saying yes.
But
he said, when you have a group of guys here,
Special.
why wouldn't you want to be here?
Special group of guys, yeah.
But it was never directly said, hey, I want to be in Denver long term. I want to be the guy here, which is interesting because he's under contract for next year, and there are guys that are not under contract for next year, a la Melvin Gordon, who have said directly, I want to be in Denver.
I want to be here, yeah.
Now, granted, Melvin Gordon is playing more than Drew Lock, but it was interesting that he didn't say flat out yes. And in that answer, I believe that was to our friend Jeff Legwold of ESPN.
Yep.
He said, I really just got to stay focused in on this game, on Saturday's matchup with the Chiefs. I can't worry about what comes next. I got to be in the moment.
Yeah. He said something that a lot of people have started saying is that
be where your feet are.
Be where your feet are. That's got to be up on the walls inside the locker room or something.
Justin Simmons says that.
Yeah.
I think Cortland Sutton has said that.
I think a coach, maybe Pat
Shurmur said it
yep.
on Wednesday.
Yep.
Drew Lock said it.
That's a nice little way to get it. They're like, if you've been asked about next year, this is how you answer it.
How could you really be anywhere else?
Well, mentally.
Yeah.
You can go places mentally.
Oh.
And not be where you are now.
The power of imagination.
But if he was like, I'm really focused on this game coming up on Sunday, that's Sunday. When he was talking, it's Wednesday. He should have just said, I'm focused on having the best press conference possible.
Phil, the game is on Saturday.
I mean, Saturday. Gosh. Wow.
Tom, that one's for you. That's the patented Phil factual statement.
That's the Jordan.
Yeah.
Sorry. But you just kind of ruined my point there. If he was like, I'm focused on the game on Saturday, okay?
Yeah, of course. No, I agree with you. Then you're not where your feet are.
Yeah, that's not where your feet are.
Yeah.
I should have called him out on that.
Unmute.
But I think he was asked later, like, why do you think you should be a starter in this league? Or do you feel like you're a starter?
Feel like you should be a starter?
And he kind of talked about how he felt like he had improved and that he says that if I'm the starter, like if I take all the reps during the week, then I give you I
think he said a pretty damn good chance.
Pretty damn good chance to get a win.
Yeah, to win a football game.
And he
don't you want more than one win?
Yeah, I mean, I think he meant
each week.
Yeah,
got it. Yeah. Okay.
But he also kind of hinted in that answer, I got to put out good tape for somebody to look at it.
Yeah, he said somebody's got to want me to do that. He said I got to put good tape for someone to evaluate.
Said it's out of his hands.
The way he said it
did not mean
it was open to more than just the Denver Broncos.
Correct. That's what I was kind of hinting toward.
It was like, hey, I've got to play well enough here that somebody somewhere across the league
is gonna
wants to give me a chance.
Yeah. That was interesting to me.
What are the chances in your mind that somewhere across the league, or maybe I'll phrase it this way, do you believe that Drew's best chance to be a week 1 starter next year is in Denver?
Oh, I was going to say I guess how I'll answer that is I think that Drew possesses enough physical traits to be a very successful quarterback in the NFL. And I think that the way the NFL works, there are coaches in this league that think, I can fix this guy. If he works with me, I'm going to fix this guy, and he's going to be really successful because he has the parts that I can't coach. He's got the strong arm. He's got the big body. He's athletic. Give me that, and I'll work with this guy, and I'll make him a good quarterback. That's how coaches think.
Yeah. Hold on. Ben Swanson's chiming in.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. He says you didn't answer the question.
Oh, I was going to say, the coaching staff that's here currently right now, they've worked with him, and they've decided to go with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
So I would say that if this coaching staff is back, then Drew's best chance would be elsewhere. So I guess it just really depends on what happens here with, I don't think it's any secret. Vic Fangio said it himself. He knows that there's talk about his future going on out there. I think that if he were not to come back, then you've got an interesting situation where that new coach that comes in, he might have certain thoughts about Drew right off the bat that I just don't know about, so I couldn't answer that. But maybe George Payton would also weigh in on that situation too. And the fact that George has been here, I do think the coaching staff ultimately made the decision to go with Teddy Bridgewater, but I know that Vic and George talk often, and I don't think that George would have had no say in that at all.
Right.
So I do think that George has probably weighed in, and the decision was to go with Teddy. So
you think elsewhere is the best chance for him to be a week 1 starter?
Yeah, unless there's a coaching change and then that new coach comes in here and has really strong, favorable feelings for Drew. But I would say that as we stand right now, I would say elsewhere.
Okay, I think it's fair to – I'll project out a little bit. I think based on what Vic Fangio has said and what he hasn't said when he's been asked about offensive coordinator Pat Shurmur. And Shurmur, when asked, are you worried about your job status, he said, no, I don't worry about that stuff. But Vic Fangio has kind of repeatedly said these last 2 games, this last game, I believe we can get it together. He's talked a couple times about, hey, George and I are going to get this figured out. He hasn't
said Pat and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, he hasn't used that same terms. And even if Pat Shurmur is back, I would expect there would be some changes to the offensive coaching staff. I think you can't go another year without some sort of change. So all that said, that would give Drew maybe a fresh outlook on life here in Denver. And the only reason why I think that he has a better chance of being a week 1 starter here is just because he's already played here. He's already been here. He's shown he can be.
He's been here, but they've said we want to go with someone else.
Yeah, but I think that if the Broncos acquire a veteran quarterback, obviously Drew Lock is not going to be the week 1 starter.
No.
If the Broncos, though, choose to draft a rookie quarterback, then it becomes possible that they say, okay, well, we'll just keep Drew since he's already under contract.
So I think that's a bad idea.
I don't know if I think it's a good idea or not, but I think that's at least like one route where you could say, okay, well, we're going to see what we have with Drew at this moment, and then we're going to turn to this rookie. Because I think if you have to trade –
I hope that's not the path.
If you have to trade Drew, or if you were to like release Drew and he were to sign somewhere else, odds are, in my mind at least, and it's hard to know how this is all going to shake out, but I would think it's very unlikely that he's going to go be the unquestioned guy somewhere. Like he would probably have to compete. He'd have to be like in a quarterback battle somewhere.
He'd have to prove himself for sure.
Right. But I find it hard to believe that he's going to get signed or traded in the offseason with a team being like, we intend for you to be the starter without any sort of competition. Because I would say right now he's kind of in that category with like Nick Foles and that caliber, Gardner
Trubisky.
Minshew, like that caliber of guy where maybe you bring in a couple similar guys and they compete for the starting job. But I don't know. It'd be hard for me to see a team after just 3 games of film on lock from this year being like, okay, we're signing you as our franchise guy.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that wherever he goes, he'll have to prove that he's worthy of a starting spot there.
And so that's the only reason why I say here might be his best shot because he's already under contract. If it's a rookie quarterback, maybe you just say, okay, well, he's already under contract. Let's move forward with this path. But
me just speculating here, 100% speculation. Drew gives off the vibe of a fresh start is needed for me. That's what I would say, and I think that here they've decided how they feel about him, sort of. And unless there's wholesale changes here, and that fresh start can be manufactured here for Drew, I just feel like he's in a position where he wants to go prove it somewhere else with somebody who he's never worked with.
I mean, if the Broncos do make a coaching change, it's possible someone comes in and says, hey, George, your plan might be to go get this veteran. It might be to get this rookie, but here's what I could do with Drew.
Yeah, exactly.
If he's here, and maybe that's enough to say for them to be convinced that, and that's probably more likely with I guess it could be either an offensive coordinator or offensive-minded head coach, but I wouldn't expect anything to happen with Drew until the Broncos quarterback situation is kind of finalized.
Yeah, I think that, and this could just talk about more about how the offseason could progress. and we could talk about this with your poll question a little bit later, but, if they go with Teddy, that's probably going to happen during free agency, and so they'll have an idea there. If they go out and sign a free agent quarterback, a veteran, that'll be decided there. And then a trade, I would imagine, would happen during that time or around the draft.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it could be done before free agency, like
Or before free
unofficially.
agency, yeah.
Just because I don't think if you
A
are
la a Flacco type of situation.
a Stafford to the Rams,
Those happen
just
earlier in the
because you
offseason.
don't want like a draft day trade, or like sometimes people talk about that post June 1 designation. You don't want to you paint yourself into a corner if you get past the draft.
That, and also if you went out and made a big splashy signing, you would want that to be done before free agencies because that guy could attract other free agents to want to come and play in Denver.
A trade, you
know
mean?
what I mean? Yeah, you'd want to trade for that
Yeah.
guy before free agency, because say if you got one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if you made that sort of a trade, you'd want that guy to be in place before free agency because maybe a wide receiver somewhere would be like, I want to play with that guy.
And plus, if you can't get that top fish or whatever you want to call it, you want to know going into regular free agency so you can then
I
get
need to do this.
somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think that either way,
Drew's going to be here for. This is not like Drew is going to get a fresh start or going to know what Drew's kind of fate is for next year, next week. This is going to take at least a couple months here, I think, to play out.
Yeah, I agree. I would agree. But just getting back to his comments a little bit, it did seem like he was really eager on becoming a starter somewhere. He wants to be given that opportunity again. And that's why I say if the Broncos were to draft a younger quarterback, I just feel like Drew would not be happy in that situation. I think Drew, from his perspective, knowing Drew, how competitive he is. Did you see some of the mic'd up clips that came out from the game against the Chargers?
Yeah.
Like him talking to Derwin James and being like, no picks today, or him talking to Joey Bosa and being like, he's tired. Drew's got an edge
Joey
to
Bosa
him.
was not tired.
He was not.
Tackled Melvin for a 4-yard loss.
Drew's got this edge to him. He's got this competitive spirit to him. Drew still very much thinks that he's a young guy in this league, that he's still improving, and that he'll eventually become a franchise guy. That without question is Drew's mindset to me.
Yeah, and I mean, he could get his chance. There's places where, again, he might not be the unquestioned guy, but maybe Sean Payton in New Orleans or something wants to see, hey, what can I do with a young guy with talent?
Yeah, and we've seen this type of a thing happen in like a Tannehill, right, where it doesn't really work out in the situation where he's been drafted, and then just a fresh start somewhere else just gives you it can rejuvenate a career.
Yeah. I mean, Tannehill had more success in Miami than
Yeah, of course he did. But he got re-signed there, right?
I think.
Yeah. I think he got a new contract in Miami before they moved.
But yeah, but he had more success, and
anyway,
and it's
wasn't
rare.
heading that
It's
direction
rare
for Tannehill to be the franchise
No.
guy there when they moved up.
No.
So things were starting to not go well for Tannehill there. Traded him to Tennessee, and then he's sort of rejuvenated his career a little bit. That can happen in this league.
Right.
So
it's rare.
It is rare. It's very rare for a guy to just suddenly have everything click.
Right. Like if you look at the other guys in that draft, Dwayne Haskins, Josh Rosen,
Sam Darnold.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold's had the most success of those guys that we've mentioned.
Yeah.
It
hasn't been great.
No.
I will say.
Well, Sam Darnold wasn't that draft.
Wasn't Sam Darnold that same draft?
No, Darnold.
That was the Baker draft.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam Darnold was.
Yeah.
Who was the number one pick?
Kyler
Murray. That's right.
Yeah.
That is right.
It was Kyler, Daniel Jones, who's also
That's right,
not
Daniel
had a
Jones.
ton of
That's
success.
Right. Dwayne
Haskins, and Locke.
Yeah. Did you mention Rosen? Is that why I?
Yeah, Rosen was
That
from
a
the
previous-
Darnold
that was
class.
from the
Yeah.
Darnold. That's right.
But I guess my point is that some of these recent high draft picks, it hasn't worked out for them in their first stop, and it hasn't really worked out.
Well,
at
do you
all.
think that Drew keeps saying that he's improved? Pat Shurmur said that he's seen Drew improved. Do you see that on tape from Drew? Like, do you say,
Yeah, I mean,
this guy's better quarterback?
he's better than he was his rookie year, obviously, and he does some things better than he did last year. He's definitely improved. It's just a question of, hey, it's been it hasn't really been 3 years, but it has been in other senses. Like, is this enough improvement? And I kind of go back to what I've said several times. You just haven't seen enough of like that he can be on the Herbert level or the Burrow level or that type of guy. And and if you're not there after 3 years going into like hypothetical, say Drew came back, he started next year, he were the guy, and he played like about how he played this year.
Yeah, that would not be good.
You're not going to extend him.
Yeah, exactly.
So that to me signifies it's time to start figuring out a different plan.
And even Drew himself said, this was another thing that was interesting. He said, I've improved, I'm getting better. But then he also said the only thing he cares about is wins.
And they haven't won.
And they haven't won. So
and they
regardless of what you think, Drew has come in and they've lost both games.
Well, and if you date it back to last year, the Broncos lost the final 4 games of the year.
Yeah. Drew has not won as a starter for a very long time.
I think the Panthers game last year was his last win as a starter.
I agree, yeah.
Which was early.
You
agree?
You said, I think, and I said, I agree. You didn't say for sure.
Got it.
If you would have said the Panthers one was, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But you said, I think, and I said, yeah, I agree.
Got it.
Yeah. I agree. You sounded like you weren't 100% sure, but then I said, I agree with you. So then that should.
It wasn't like, okay, perfect.
I should give you some
confidence. Yeah, that makes me.
Like,
I'm like, maybe that wasn't. Maybe that wasn't.
So, I would say he's improved, but it hasn't resulted in wins. So what does it matter?
Well, and Pat Shurmur said this too on Wednesday, but he's had the big throws, he's avoided the turnovers, and the Broncos have scored 13 points the last 2 weeks.
Not good enough in the red zone.
No, and then against the Raiders, it wasn't really good enough anywhere. They didn't get in the red zone except for the Bradley Chubb interception.
Eric, let me ask you a question.
It's not translating.
Something I was thinking about with talking about the red zone.
Yeah.
Sorry for this a little aside, but in my head, and granted,
this is when we know in my head, when you say in my head, alarm bells start going off.
Obviously,
like, fire take incoming.
I don't really know that much about football, right?
Sure, okay.
Compared to
you're right.
People who've worked.
I agree with you.
In this, okay. Oh, you agree, huh? Yeah. The Broncos have Cortland Sutton, which is like a huge body.
Okay.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Alberto.
Okay.
Big guy.
Big.
Don't you think those guys would be good in the red zone? Don't you think?
I would think that.
You would think that if you had those two guys, there would be some matchup issues there for a defense.
Some mega opportunities.
And I'm not talking about just a jump ball. I'm talking about a boxed out.
Yeah.
You just run to the end zone and turn around.
A back shoulder.
If you've got that timing down, that is going to be hard for somebody to defend that. Alberto's got really long arms. He's got a wide shoulders.
Okay.
If he ran into you, gave you a little something, and then turned around.
Pass interference, offense.
You know how to do it.
Sneaky.
And then you catch the ball. That seems like
touchdown.
At least maybe try that.
Here's maybe a little secret. Something I'd love to see. I like Statsville, but I'm not like into all the stats. I don't know how to find all of them.
Only like DVOA.
Yeah. How the Broncos, it seems, do not throw the ball into the end zone very often.
That's true.
Especially in
throw it short and then run into that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
I would love to see and I could figure this out for the Broncos, what percentage of their touchdown passes this year have been into the end zone.
Air
end zone. Yeah.
Yards.
It can't be many. And then I would like to see that compared to the rest of the league. And then I would also like to see that compared to a couple of years ago, or last year, I guess, a couple of years ago, when Drew Lock first got here, because there were, there's that throw to Noah Fant against Houston where he just threads a needle.
Right there,
there's some bombs to Cortland Sutton. So I wonder,
his first touchdown pass, that one, the nice.
Is that a scheme thing? Is that was that Teddy Bridgewater? Is that Drew Lock trying to be careful? So it's probably a little safer to throw it short of the end zone and try to run in than it is to fit something in there. But
also a little harder to score that way.
Yeah, of course. You've got to be able to make these tight window throws to score. And so that would bring Cortland Sutton and those guys back into the equation, I think.
That's just all I'm saying. Obviously, I don't know as much about football as like Pat Shermer, who's
of course
growing up in this world, coached in this world a long time.
Played collegiate football.
But in my head, I just think you've got these two guys. Why not? There's got to be a reason.
There's got to be a reason.
That would have been something that I would have maybe thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so that's sort of the situation heading into this final game for Drew. You know, I think that he's said those things that have made us believe this is where he's at right now.
Yes.
So I feel like that was a good breakdown of his mindset heading into this last game.
I agree.
So, let's get on to our second topic here, Eric, talking about the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Not much to play for the Broncos in terms of actual standings or anything like that. The Chiefs, everything to play for. Still have a chance at that number 1 seed in a first-round bye, so they're going to be all in on this one. But I'm just wondering if there's some additional outside factors that you think the Broncos have on the line here on Saturday
afternoon football. I mean, obviously there's like Justin Simmons could set a career high in interceptions. Pat Surtain could get a pick if he plays. Doesn't sound great for that. Javonte Williams could sneak into the top 10 in rushing. So those are like interesting things to watch, I guess. But there's two things that a win would mean in my mind. One is you can just stop talking about this streak.
Yeah. 12 games in a row that they've
12
lost.
games in a row, dating all the way back to the end of 2015. I mean, it's just gone on for a really long time. And so to be able to go into next year
and not have that around.
Yeah, you could have a new quarterback. You could have a new coaching staff. Who knows what's going to happen there. But you want a fresh start. And so the last thing you want is to have to look back and be like, well, okay, let's ask you about this streak that's dated back for 5 years, 6 years now. So that's one thing, is that the streak could be gone. And with that, I think would come, if you can beat this team, because they're going to be fighting for something and they have all these pieces, you could say if you're the Broncos, okay, we're a little bit shorthanded. You know, we don't have our starting quarterback. We know there could be change coming, but we just showed that we can beat this team. And so it's a good confidence boost for them, because the Broncos have not been good in one-score games this year, and they also have not been super successful against playoff teams. Obviously, they've now lost the last 4 games against presumable playoff teams, the Chiefs, Bengals, Raiders, Chargers. Probably both those teams won't make it unless they tie. But
that's a little bit of an interesting thing because if the Colts lose,
then they could tie.
Then they could just take a knee and both would make the
Brandon
playoffs.
Staley said he wouldn't do that today.
Yeah, I don't actually think that a football team would do that.
It would be a good way to rest your starters, though. No injuries. Going to the playoffs.
It would be ridiculous, though. And also,
I'd watch it.
The rivalry, you'd have a chance to have it so the Raiders don't go to the playoffs. So
yeah. Well, maybe you say you're going to kneel it the whole time, and then on the last one, fake kneel, bomb.
Ooh, exactly. And then their whole season's over.
Exactly. And then you laugh at them. But so I think those are the two things. One, you can prove to yourselves that you can beat a good football team, which I think some guys probably need, that confidence boost. And then second, you just put all this to bed. And maybe the Chiefs start another streak and they beat you next year.
Well,
and
it doesn't matter.
You don't have to talk about this one anymore.
Drew was asked about that too. God, that was a press conference. You should really go watch the whole thing on. It's probably just a couple videos down from here.
Yeah.
On the YouTube page, if you.
He said it didn't matter at all.
Yeah, he said a win is a win.
Yeah,
he doesn't care who
is a win.
Against.
Yeah,
and he also said that if they would have beaten the Chargers last week, it would have been the same as if he would have beaten the Chiefs this week.
Then he also was asked, well, does it mean something to be able to talk mess to your friends? And he was like,
he's from Kansas City.
Yeah, and he was like, I'm going to give the PC answer and say no. I was like, so you're admitting
that's not a PC answer. Yeah. You don't say PC in the PC answer.
Oh, that's smart. No, you don't.
No, you don't. I just don't buy that. I do think that the Chiefs, even though these current players haven't been here since the streak began.
Brandon McManus has.
Well, Brandon McManus has. But he goes out and kicks 61-yard field goals.
Yeah.
If he's off the court.
If he has enough time. Oh, yeah. That's
what I meant. And he needs a little bit of time to go out there.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
But
no yelling.
61-yarder.
He did. He was fired up.
Third longest field goal in Broncos history.
To me, it was like it's exciting for Brandon. Nice kick. It obviously kept the Broncos in the game a little bit longer, but it is funny to see people like jumping around celebrating a field goal down 17-0.
I was celebrating the fact that they were aggressive at the end of the second
Yeah,
half.
14 seconds.
Yeah, and they did get the ball back first in the second half. Like that's how.
And they drove it down, right?
That's
No,
how
they
good
didn't.
teams,
I don't think so.
No, they didn't.
But they could have.
They could have, and that's what good teams do. They score right before halftime, and then they get the ball back and they score again.
Yeah.
The old 1-2 punch.
Yeah, the old double dip.
That's what I liked. But I do think that if you are somehow able to beat these guys, it would mean something, even if it's just a way to celebrate this season and be like, look, we got to 8 wins.
Well,
that would be significant to me, even though obviously in a standings perspective, it really doesn't matter at all. But
and the part of the issue is like before the Broncos now have not beaten the Raiders since 2019.
Chiefs.
No, I'm talking about the Raiders.
But I'm talking about this Chiefs game.
I'm talking about the Raiders. The Broncos haven't beaten the Raiders since 2019, right?
Okay.
That's correct.
They lost both games in 2020,
Okay,
and they lost both games this year, so 4 in a row.
Yeah, so they won that final game in 2019. So it's
That
still
was a
not
Shelby Harris knock.
it's still not like great that you've lost 4 in a row to the Raiders, but you at least like you've basically split with them the rest of those years. Like you can still beat the Raiders. They've been close games. You've obviously beaten the Chargers a lot here recently, 4-2 in the last 3 years.
The Chiefs are different.
And so there's you haven't given yourself like these guys keep talking about, you got to be better in the division. You got to win division games. Well, you can go beat the Raiders. You can go beat the Chargers. Right now, there's still that sense that, like, you're going to earn 2 losses a year against the Chiefs. And so just to break out of that and prove like the Raiders have beaten the Chiefs in years where they haven't made the playoffs. The Chargers have beaten the Chiefs in years when they haven't made the playoffs.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the Broncos have not been able to do that, and it's putting them in a 2-game hole every single year.
And everybody always talks about, Mahomes, you're going to have to deal with him for 10 years, twice a season. Like there's just sort of like these guys are invincible to the Broncos. So I do think that getting that monkey off their back would be significant. You just want to have to talk about it next year.
Right.
And that would be big to me.
No, I don't think it's very likely.
I don't think so either. They got a lot to play for in the Broncos.
And they're good. And the Broncos are banged up.
Yeah, they're limping into this one, I would say. I think that, It's for the Broncos, this was like the last place schedule, and they're going to play the last place schedule again next year. But they have played quite a few playoff teams this year, huh? I mean, it's possible.
The last place only counts for 3 games.
Yeah.
So.
But like the whole division could make the playoffs except the Broncos.
With a tie.
It's possible.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
You're right. I agree with you.
The Eagles made the playoffs.
Eagles made the playoffs.
The
Bengals are going to make the playoffs.
The Bengals made the playoffs.
The Steelers could make the playoffs.
The Ravens are still.
They need a lot of stuff to happen.
It's possible, Eric.
It's possible.
Yeah. So like, they've played some pretty good teams this year.
Yeah.
In addition to the
next year's schedule, oof.
Ooh.
Hard.
Oh yeah, they play the NFC
West,
which is one of the better divisions.
Yeah.
In football, and they play the AFC South, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so those are tough. Carolina, I believe, is.
Carolina, the Jets. I mean, there's a couple that you would hope to win, but playing the NFC West and the AFC West, that's 10 games right there against really good teams.
The AFC South, though, is not very good.
I mean, everything changes from year to year, but I mean, the Broncos would not be favored this year against the Colts or the Titans.
But the Texans and the Jaguars are not
right. But 2-2, not good.
That's true. That's a good point. There.
That's the hard thing is like we've looked at the schedule the last few years and been like, you could split these.
Yeah.
Or like, if you could just win like
some of these,
3 out of these next 6, but it's like the good teams that make the playoffs and aren't like sneaking in, like they lose 3 or 4 games the whole year.
Have you, on some level, been surprised / impressed by the Raiders?
Yeah, sure.
We kind of wrote them off for dead.
Well, and they did have a bad stretch there, but it was hard. It was hard not to write them off because the last few years they've done that like every year. They've started 6-2, 6-3, 7-3, and then they just stunk it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Granted, their end of season schedule, like the Colts win was impressive, and we'll see what they do this week. But they played the Broncos, who were beaten up, and so we'll see what happens.
Considering everything that's happened in Las Vegas, this has been surprising that they're in this point.
Who you want the Chargers to win? I assume.
The rivalry for the Broncos and the way I feel about the rest of the division, I would say that the dislike for the Raiders is higher than the Chargers.
So you want the Chargers to win this weekend?
I think so. What do you think?
I agree. I think Herbert's fun to watch.
That is true too.
Here's one more question for that on you. Would you rather the Chargers or the Chiefs win the Super Bowl this year?
Do we have time for that?
Because there's
okay. Here's how I feel about it. I really it would make me sick if the Chiefs won again.
Yeah.
But at least they've done it.
Yeah.
Like
you've already dealt with that.
Yeah, exactly. And you could just sort of just lump that in.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh, the Chiefs just won a couple Super Bowls, whatever.
But if the Chargers win it, while that would be on the surface better than like the Chiefs winning it, then you've opened up a new can of worms.
Yeah.
You're saying, okay, the Chiefs and the Chargers have won the Super Bowl more recently.
Yeah.
And
this is a division of Super Bowl winners in the Chargers and Chiefs, and the Broncos are just left behind. If the Chargers win it.
Yeah, but then also you could be like, welcome to this Super Bowl winners club. Do you know what I mean? Like the Broncos and Raiders just welcomed them into that club. The Chiefs.
Yeah,
and then you like to have that be a little exclusive.
But if you're talking about like dominant teams right now in the division, you're not mentioning the Broncos because that Super Bowl was a while ago.
But what I'm saying is, like, when you get into an argument with another
Chargers fan,
of course, you're like, well, what have you done? You haven't even won any Super Bowls, so just go back home.
Right. So if they win, you would now talk about Mahomes and Herbert, the Super Bowl winning quarterbacks in the division.
It would open up a hole and you face a lot of problems. So I don't know.
I think it's probably better if the Chiefs just were to win it again.
Yeah, but that would.
I'm going to be rooting for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, we like some underdogs.
We love Joe Burrow. We like Joe Burrow.
This show is a Joe Burrow fan.
Joe Burrow is the official quarterback, official non-Bronco quarterback of the neutral zone.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves a nice quarter zip.
He likes quarter zips. He also likes some stogies.
Yeah, he does.
We tend to sometimes. Not really.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay, Eric. Should we get to should we get to the part where we include NZ Nation?
That could be really good.
Let's get into some. Let's start with an email, huh?
Sure.
How about a nice one from our good friend Tom Agnetti?
Tom.
Here we go.
Gentlemen, Tom Agnetti here. I was just calling to thank you for all that you do week to week, informing me of my beloved Broncos throughout the year. Although the year is going to end with some disappointment, maybe we'll beat the Chiefs. Regardless, I'm looking forward to our bright future together, and that includes you guys. So thank you. Have a great year, and I hope to see this last episode.
Tom, we hope that you see this last episode.
Yeah, we hope so too, Tom.
Happy New Year, Tom. Thank you for being such a loyal listener, a big fan of the Neutral Zone. He's almost like he's in the running for like NZ Nation president.
Yeah, I would say.
There's a few other guys who
say so. Yeah, Brandon from Iowa, of course.
Not automatic, but
no,
he's pretty close.
No, we'll do a bracket. Maybe around March Madness, we'll do a NZ fan bracket.
It is hard to think about it right now, just because the season's coming to an end here. But there were some bright spots this year.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be encouraged about, I think.
Yeah. I mean, Pat Surtain has been as good as advertised. Javonte Williams has been good. You won some big games.
I would just say that it's hard because
what I got.
The most important position is still a question mark, I would say, at this point.
Of course.
So that is hard. So.
Well, and you don't know what's going to happen at the head coaching position because of some of the uncertainty, and that makes it hard too.
There is some uncertainty, but also some things that
this team could make a big jump.
Yeah, we thought they would do that last year, though.
2020?
But I choose to remain optimistic. Both. Yeah. Here's a call from Wyatt.
Oh.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Wyatt. I've called on here a few times. I'm the guy who really likes Drew Lock and thinks he's really good. But I just wanted to call and talk on the podcast about just kind of what to look for in this game, obviously, because we're out of the playoff race and everything like that and everything. Personally, what I want to see is a third game of Drew Lock and him coming out and, hey, he plays solid his first 2 games. Nothing too flashy, nothing too, oh my gosh, that's his 5th pick of the game type of thing. I'm excited to see him come out if he plays. And, I mean, I saw some stats of he's completed more 30-yard passes than Teddy Bridgewater did all season, and he's played 3 games, you know. Or I've seen his passer ratings compared to Teddy Bridgewater's and everything like that. And obviously that's what Teddy's known for, is having solid stats. But anyway, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see how our defense plays. I think that we should try and get a few different players in there. Obviously, personally, I don't think this will be our coaching staff next year, so I'm interested to see if we do something different, if we just say, hey, we're trying to beat the Chiefs, so we go for it on every 4th down or whatever. I just hope, we can beat the Chiefs because we haven't beat the Chiefs since Peyton Manning. But yeah, and another reason I wanted to call is I wanted to talk about specifically how last week Drew Lock really incorporated Noah Fant. And Noah Fant I've loved since Iowa because I watched Big Ten football, and I watched him and TJ Hawkinson destroy my Michigan Wolverines day in and day out. And just watching Noah Fant, I've always loved him. I think that we very underutilize him. And I loved how Drew Lock used him and Albert O, obviously, last week, when besides that drop. Albert O was getting reps, getting a lot of things, and I just loved how he used the tight ends. And I felt like when I was watching it, I was like, yes, we're finally using our weapons. Now, the running game has been heavily slacking since Drew Lock became the QB. Now, whether that's because of play calls, handoffs, O-line, whatever, but that's something that I have noticed. But yeah, those are my takes on different things. Obviously, I'm sad the season's about to be over, but I can't wait to see off-season draft, the new coaching hires if we have any, and go Broncos.
Wyatt is sort of like the anti-AJ.
I was going to say he's like the Drew Lock AJ.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly what I was.
Their
I
voices
was thinking
sound
the
very
same
similar
thing
too. Their cadence, the way they talk,
get a little fired up.
Yeah, I hope Wyatt's doing okay after that Michigan Wolverines game.
Oof.
A rough couple of weeks here with the Broncos losing and then Michigan just getting.
That's okay. I mean, they made it to the playoff. That's a nice season.
But Jim Harbaugh news.
That's true.
Wow. Bruce Feldman reporting that Jim might be interested in the NFL. You think that's just Jim's representation being like, let's get a new contract?
Yeah,
the
old Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, let's get a little bit of, hey, I'm kind of in high demand here. You better fork over a little.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury tried that this year too. He said, I might go coach Oklahoma.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, hard to do the reverse, from the NFL to college.
Well, yeah.
Some of those college coaches get paid a lot, though.
They do.
Including Jim Harbaugh.
That's true.
I think he gets paid a lot. But what do you think about I thought the Noah Fant stuff was interesting because Noah, he did have a nice game, and we touched on this on Monday, but most of those yards came like sort of when the game was already in hand.
Yeah, it's just hard to kind of say what's real and what's not when it comes in garbage time. And both of his good games this year, or best games this year, came against the Raiders and the Chargers when things were like out of hand. The touchdowns came at the end of the game. So hard for me to be like a dominant performance from Noah, but obviously he's a special player. You still hope they can get him involved more. It'll be an interesting offseason to see what the team does with Noah. You got to decide this offseason. Do you pick up his 5th-year option? What's the plan there with him? Those will be interesting things to monitor because he has talent, but I do think maybe you would have expected him to take a little bit bigger of a step from where he was a year ago or the year before.
Especially heading into the season, he was talking about like being like Travis Kelce
not quite on that level.
Yeah, George Kittle.
He's had a lot of catches this year. He's probably going to lead the team in catches, but the yards haven't necessarily been there.
Yeah, interesting year for Noah Fant. That's a leading the team in catches. It didn't feel like that.
A lot of short ones.
Yeah. Eric, should we check in on your Twitter poll?
Yeah, so this is we put out this poll. Who's the ideal Broncos QB for 2022? Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, a new veteran QB, or a rookie QB? Right now, new veteran QB is running away with it, 63% of the vote. Not surprising in my mind. I know fans they want, I think, a big trade. It's probably what they want. But the interesting thing to me that maybe we could chat about is Drew Lock is the second place finisher right now, ahead of rookie quarterback.
Those are pretty close, though, right?
21% for Drew Lock, 13 for rookie quarterback.
Oh,
So not insignificant, but we'll have to see how that kind of plays out over the next. This poll has just begun a couple of hours ago.
it's a fresh one.
But that's interesting to me because that's essentially part of this fan base saying we still believe in Drew Lock. We still believe he can be the guy. Because the allure of a rookie quarterback, Phil, is that you don't know what you don't know, and that a guy like, we'll talk about all these guys, Matt Corral, Sam Howell, Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong, like all those guys.
Strong.
Any of those guys could be an MVP, could be Justin Herbert, could be Joe Burrow. Like you just don't know, and so
the hype train on those guys has not left the station.
No, not even close.
Yeah. When you get a little bit closer to the draft and you've done some homework on these guys and you hear all these little things, or one of those guys is going to do something at their pro day and you're going to be like, ooh.
Yeah, I was at your pro day. You'll say that at some point.
And then if you came here, you can say it. Once that happens, I think the opinion might change.
But I just think with a rookie quarterback as opposed to Drew, there's still the possibility they could be that top-level guy. And maybe Drew becomes that, whether it's here or somewhere else. But I haven't seen the signs yet necessarily that that's going to happen. So I would personally lean toward, out of those two, a rookie. But again, we talked about this with Justin Fields. It's got to be the right rookie. You can't take a quarterback just for the sake of taking one. And if a guy's not there, you're going to set your team back years by taking the wrong guy. Like the Broncos, by not taking Justin Fields or Mac Jones, like you set yourself back 1 year because you're now in this situation again in 2022. But say you'd taken one of those guys and they busted, now you're setting yourself back 4 or 5 years because you're kind of investing in that guy. Maybe not 5, but you know what I mean.
And the Broncos are in a position where they need to acquire roster talent.
Yeah.
At least last draft. So, you don't just take a guy to take a guy, I don't think. It'll be interesting, though. Like, obviously, the plus of getting a veteran quarterback, you're relevant, and you're back in this window where you can win it all.
Right.
But there's a window where you get a younger guy that you feel really good about. Then you feel like, okay, we've got our guy for the future. We've got this guy's whole career ahead of us. So there's some positives there. And then the Drew option, there's clearly some people who think, I'm not ready to give this roster, to give the keys to a young, 22-year-old, 23-year-old. The rest of this roster is too good for that to go through some of those growing pains. So
I mean, I do think I would, if there's kind of an advantage to Drew, if you can't get one of those veterans, it's that for 2022, Drew is probably a better option than a rookie quarterback just because he has experience.
Yeah. But we've seen some rookie quarterbacks have some success. But
there's that 2012 class, like Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin, Russell Wilson, all led their teams to the playoffs as rookies. Yeah. There's examples. So. Mac Jones, of course, this year. The thing with the veterans, Phil, and we'll talk about this a ton, I'm sure, there's a couple of those big name guys that are slam dunks, it seems like. But then you get to kind of the
slam dunks to improve.
To be really good, be in the Super Bowl contender mix. But then there's guys that you could acquire that you just don't know, whether it's who knows if the Broncos are interested in any of these guys, but you're talking about like the Garoppolos, the Matt Ryans, like that level of guy. I would probably say Matt Ryan's probably higher in that ranking, but
Matt Ryan has started a Super Bowl.
Right. But like that level of guy, you could spend draft capital to get him and it still might not work out. And so then at that point you got to weigh, well, is it just smarter to go through the draft? And a lot for George Payne to think about.
It would be hard if you didn't get one of those veteran guys, okay, and then you also didn't feel strong about one of these rookie quarterbacks. It would be tough to swallow another year. We don't like any of these guys.
Yeah.
It would be tough to swallow.
It would be. So. Especially because you're going to get to the point where you're going to have to start paying more guys on this. Like, teams don't stay this talented forever because you've got to pay guys.
Yeah. There's going to be some decisions.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, should we get to our favorite part of the show? Shoutouts.
Bold predictions. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, let's not do that for this one. You and I might end up getting fired.
That was going to be one of my bold predictions.
Oh yeah, that one of us got fired.
Yeah. Both. We'd leave together in solidarity. If they like go you, I'd be like, I quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kidding. I'd stay. Yeah. Shout out to all of NZ Nation for listening to another season of the Neutral Zone. Phil, we're very close. I think this is episode like 195, 196.
Almost 200.
Almost to 200.
Yeah. We'll have another little shebang.
We got our final farm home appearance of the season.
I was going to mention
on Monday at Breckenridge Brewery's farm home in Littleton.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. on the dot.
Live, no matter what.
I think there could be a lot to talk about. There's going to be a lot to talk about one way or another on Monday.
You better get there early. I mean,
if you want a seat.
If you want a seat.
Yeah.
And if we're drinking some of that Christmas ale.
The first part of the show makes a lot of sense. The second part, sometimes it's touch and go.
Exactly. A little touch and go. Huh?
Yeah. You know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then also maybe shout out to Liz Gerald.
Yeah.
This
Adapting.
is the Inspire Change game.
Yeah.
And then also earlier this week, kind of hosted this little thing with Dalton Reisner about it's a character playbook.
Yeah.
Talked to a middle school in Littleton about what character means to them. Building character. Yeah, I think they're right outside of the farm.
Are they off Santa Fe and Brewery Lane?
That would be one heck of a middle school. Talked a little bit about character. It was nice. Dalton had a lot of good things to say. Of course, Dalton, his season has come to an end with the elbow injury, but
yeah,
he talked about character, and it was nice getting out there in the community. Of course, digitally,
virtually.
Yeah, what's the difference between virtual and digital?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it would be cool someday if there's just a hologram version of
the metaverse.
Yeah,
we could do the podcast in the metaverse.
Is that Facebook?
No, the metaverse. Well, I think Meta is what the metaverse is like. You would log on and you would like walk through your home to like a virtual Breck brew, and then you would sit down next to like a virtual version of it's like The Sims, I think. But you would like you would sit down and then there would be like a screen that popped up and we would like zoom.
But I wouldn't actually be there with you.
No,
I don't want it.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I already could tell you I don't like it.
Yeah.
All right, Eric. Well, let's wrap up this show. Very excited about our show coming up Monday. We'll wrap up the entire Broncos season at that point, talk about the future, talk about what this offseason might look like. So that'll be a very important show coming up on Monday. Until then, Eric, I think it's time to sign off.
I think so.
For Ben Swanson, for filtering all those emails, thank you very much, Ben. Took a break from the canvas.
Yeah.
So
really nice of him.
Thank you to Ben. But for Eric, I am Phil. No, that didn't feel right.
No.
For Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.